Anyways, that's how you tell the difference between pass interference and incidental contact. You're welcome, Commissioner Goodell. Although, I gotta be honest, that's probably something you guys should have already known. Alright, yeah, take care. Oh hey, didn't see you there. My name's Jordan from To Touch the Lion's Mane. Ah, shoot, I did it again. Sorry, let's go ahead and cut this one. Sorry, force of habit. Hi, I'm Jordan from the Circus Catch. You know, 2022 has been a pivotal year for sports. We've seen the peaks of victory, the valleys of defeat, the heat of the battles, and moments that touched our hearts beyond the game. Today, we take a look back at 2022 and talk about our favorite moments from this year. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to the Circus Catch. Ow! What was that for? Why'd you do that?
It's in the script, Jordan.
That was in the script? I have the worst writer in the world. Oh my gosh, where is he? I need to talk to that son of a bitch. There will be no swearing on my podcast, not even by myself. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Circus Catch. I am Jordan Wright, and apparently I do all my own stunts. I liken myself to Jackie Chan in that regard. For those of you who didn't understand the To Touch the Lion's Mane reference, don't worry about it. It's a little Easter egg for a select few, but if you got it, you know me too well and have known me too long. Anyways, yeah, welcome to the show. I'm Jordan Wright. With me again today is Jesse Larson, all the way from Oklahoma. Hello, Jesse.
Hey, what's going on, Jordan? Thanks for having me today.
You're always welcome on the show. You know that. So, 2022. Man, what a year.
Dude.
What a freaking year. And it's almost over already. I think what it is for me is 2020 was the biggest part of COVID. 2021, it bled over. So 2022, now that a lot of the restrictions have gone away, because those years went so slow, this year went by so quick for me. I don't know about you.
I can't believe it's gone by as fast as it did. But yeah, man. And I'll be honest with you, doing the research for you, like looking at some of these stories and stuff, like these happened this year. Like, you know, it's so far ago, or, you know, and it's, oh man, just something else. It really has gone by super fast.
Really? Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of going by super fast, why don't we start at the beginning of the year and we'll start making our way towards where we're at now. Jesse, what's one big thing that you saw at the beginning of this year that you'd like to talk about?
So obviously the first big thing we talk about is that incredible NFL divisional round, the playoffs last year, or should I say this year, but last season. All four games coming down to walk-off scores, Bengals, 49ers, Rams, and Chiefs all getting it done at the very end. You know, Tampa Bay coming 24 unanswered points to come back against the Rams. Didn't quite get it done. And then I don't want to talk about it, but the Chiefs, 13 seconds, sending it to overtime against the Bills. It just a wild weekend of football. All four games, Jordan, combined margin of victory, 15 points.
I can't believe that all of those games were so close. And not only that they were all walk-offs.
Yeah, exactly.
My favorite walk-off of those was...
Of course.
Yeah. Not to tip my cap as to where my allegiances lie, but, I mean, you know, this happened this year. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So let's talk about what I thought was the best moment of 2022 for myself. There's a reason I'm wearing this hat. There's a reason I'm wearing this hoodie. It obviously feels like a long time ago considering how the Rams are playing right now. But believe it or not, once upon a time this year, the Los Angeles Rams did win the Super Bowl. The Rams traded not only their first round picks, but a few other pieces along with Jared Goff to Detroit just to get Matthew Stafford and nothing else really back, maybe some money. The thought through a lot of our heads was, is Matthew Stafford really the guy? Is he the guy that's going to take us to the promised land? Because we were close with Goff. We were right there. We couldn't get it done. Our offense completely collapsed in Super Bowl 53. And we're looking 3 years later, not much of a different team. Obviously, Todd Gurley being gone was huge. But we had faith in Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson and these guys. Cam Akers having just come off a huge injury. But the question that was in all of our minds was Stafford the guy? And it definitely looked like it at the beginning of the year. And then we see these pickups that the Rams are making, Odell Beckham Jr., Von Miller, these superstar signings that we get mid-season. One via trade with the Broncos and then one who found a way off the Cleveland Browns. And and we got him. But one thing I will say, just going back to 2021 for a second, after those two guys got signed, the Rams lost 3 games in a row. After they showed they were all in, they took a big hit, and a lot of people were saying this was one of the worst moves that the Rams could have made. Because making those signings with Stafford and OBJ and Von Miller, that says Super Bowl or bust. There's no other option. Really, there's no other option. Rams lose 3 in a row. They're out of the lead of the division. Arizona held the lead for most of the year. Let's not forget that. Some late season heroics as well as a late season collapse by the Arizona Cardinals helped the Rams get into that spot. They did lose the last game of the regular season, so they went down to the 4 seed, which in my mind, I said, we need more home games. We can't survive on being a 4 seed. So I don't think it's going to happen this year. But the season before, Goff took us to the divisional round. If Stafford takes us to the NFC Championship, hey, I'll be good with that. It's an upgrade, and we'll make progressions from there. So this wild card game versus Arizona, they're the 5 seed. I remember watching TV and watching everybody say, well, it's kind of a 50-50 toss-up. We don't know. Arizona, LA. It was split pretty far down the middle. And the thing that bothered me the most is Kurt Warner took the Arizona Cardinals in his pick. Granted, that was one of the other big teams he played for and took them to a Super Bowl as well. But I always consider him a Ram, especially being on those teams that I liked growing up. Kurt Warner was my guy. So I took that a little personally. But I forgave him for it right after the game when the Rams just whomped on the Cardinals. They had nothing to show for it, and that's kind of reeling into how this season is going for them. But I digress. Going to that divisional round, just like you were talking about, Brady was down 27-3. And so me, having seen what Brady's been able to do over the last 2+ decades, I wasn't comfortable. I said 27-3, but we're in Tampa Bay's house. Brady is Brady. He's taken us down in 2 Super Bowls. He doesn't like, or he actually does like playing the Rams in the playoffs. Got it all the way to 27-27. And, I work retail, so I'm at work, and you got to work on Sundays. You can't take them off typically. So me just pacing back and forth the whole time. A lot of people wondering, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Like, are you okay? He's kind of got a red face. He's steaming. I had a sinking feeling in my heart. And then the last drive of regulation, Stafford with a beautiful pass down to Cooper Kupp, who was just ridiculous with yards after catch. Gets all the way down the field, gets set up for a Matt Gay field goal, and we spoil the comeback of Tom Brady. And I thought it was beautiful because that game led to his retirement, and then Brady had to screw it up by coming back this year. But I digress. NFC Championship. Again, I'm going to be digressing a lot. NFC Championship, San Francisco 49ers. For some reason, these 49ers fans think that they own SoFi Stadium, and that really gets my goat. That gets under my skin because while Shanahan may own McVay in the regular season, he has not beat McVay once when it counts. They've only played against each other one time when it counted. And to be honest, the 49ers probably should have won that game. They had multiple opportunities, but they didn't. The Rams took advantage. Aaron Donald had a beast of a game, threw down Jimmy G at the last seconds of the game. That was a thriller. That was almost better than the Super Bowl for me because it's your division rival. It's a hated rival. The fans, let's be honest, there's more San Francisco fans than there are LA fans. We're few, but we're proud. They're all over the place. And, me being in California, all of them are talking trash to me the entire time. Anytime I can get one up on my friends, it's a good feeling as well. Don't worry, 49ers fans. You're doing great. I envy you right now. But in that particular game, that was one of my favorite moments of my life as far as watching football. And then, of course, on to the Super Bowl. I was in Los Angeles the day before the Super Bowl. Los Angeles and Inglewood. There was a Super Bowl experience down there that I had a chance to go visit. A lot of Bengals jerseys down there, and that got my goat again. I was a little ticked. I was like, "Where's the support?" But I understand that it's a new team in a new city. LA works a little bit differently than all these other cities. City like Cincinnati, the fans are going to show up and show out. Los Angeles, there's just so much to do and so many different things. Not going to have a ton of fan support in the NFL. You got big USC and UCLA fans down there. But LA, the people who are from there, they don't live there anymore. The people who live there are not from LA. So it's a lot of transplants. They come in with their own teams. So that's one reason why these teams moved out of LA in the first place. But now the two teams are back. It's been a little bit of a struggle to get some fan support there. So I didn't like seeing that, but I loved what I saw the next day. So I'm watching the Super Bowl, and if the Rams ever make it back to the Super Bowl in my lifetime, I'm never doing this again. I went to a friend's house. There were about 10 kids there, all of them boys, all of them rowdy, all of them raucous. I'm including my boys too. I was laser focused on the game. Everybody else is up, partying, eating chips, drinking beer, having a good time. Not me. I'm laser focused on the TV the entire time. Even the halftime show, I don't take my eyes off the TV. It was just great, man. Aaron Donald again beasting out, especially on the last play. He could have easily got Super Bowl MVP. Cooper Kupp definitely well-deserved. But Aaron Donald's performance was legendary. And so, all that being said, that was one of the greatest experiences of my life as a Rams fan. It was also one of the greatest experiences of my life just watching sports, seeing that run that was improbable around every turn. But the Rams have some hardware to show for it. They got their first championship in the city of Los Angeles. And although it won't be for much longer, they are the current reigning champions of the NFL.
So moving on past football, Jordan, I do want to
All right.
touch on one thing real quick.
Sure.
So we all know the situation going on in Russia and Ukraine with the ongoing war. And I'm not going to go into detail about any of those semantics because that's not relevant to this story. But back during the Paralympic Games, Ukraine and Russia had just gone to war, if you will. And Ukraine sent their Paralympic team to Beijing, and they walked out of Beijing with the second most medals out of any country out of the entire games with 29 medals. The only country that had more was the host, China, who had 63. And China had 3 times as many athletes as Ukraine had in Beijing. So I just think that is one of the most touching and most uplifting stories that happened in 2022. A country besieged and uprooted, destroyed by an enemy faction, and they put sports on the map for their country, and they showed just this heartfeltness, and it kind of puts me at a loss of words, to be honest, but I just wanted to touch on that real quick. And I want to talk about some college basketball because that's my thing. That's, as you know, Jordan.
Oh yeah.
And as the viewers will learn in the next couple months, really into college basketball.
We had a little debate about this the other day. We were texting back and forth. Yeah, just so you guys know, Jesse and I talk pretty much every day, and sometimes it does get into little debates like this. But go ahead with your inferior basketball. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, go ahead and let's talk college basketball 2022.
So in women's college basketball, we saw an NCAA record at the Division I level for the most points in a single game. Kansas State guard Ioka Lee scored 61 points in a game for K-State in January. No other player had scored over 60 in the last decade. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was stunning too. NCAA tournament, man. St. Peter's. I don't know if anyone knows about the Peacocks, but man, they had a 16-11 record in the regular season, limped their way into the NCAA tournament, and then just came out guns blazing as a 15 seed went past 2 seed Kentucky, 7 seed Murray State went down, 3 seed Purdue down. They became the first 15 seed to ever make it to the Elite Eight. Now, they went down pretty handily, 69-49, to eventual national runner-up North Carolina, but first 15 seed to ever go to the Elite Eight. And the first New Jersey school to go to the Elite Eight since Seton Hall did it in 2000. Seton Hall's player of the year that year, it was the St. Peter's head coach this year.
Full circle for him.
Full circle, right?
Yeah.
New Jersey repping. And
of course, I do remember that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Of course, you can't talk about college basketball in 2022 without talking about Coach K. Mike Krzyzewski, yes. One of the most storied coaches in college basketball history, bar none. 42 seasons at Duke University, 47 seasons total, 1,200 wins, 5 national championships. He sent 75 players to the NBA in nearly 5 decades of coaching. Just, the man is a legend. He has an area on Duke's campus in Durham named after him. It's called Krzyzewskiville. There are campsites for Duke games, sold out Duke games, mind you. It's just an incredible experience. If anyone is into college basketball, even if you're just into basketball and you have the opportunity to camp out in Krzyzewskiville and just experience a game at Duke University, Cameron Indoor Stadium, it is one of the most electric atmospheres. I'm no Duke fan by any means. And I think most people that know me know that I'm not a Duke fan by any means, but it is one of the greatest atmospheres in college basketball. And Coach K, a legend in the sport of basketball. It's not just college basketball, a legend in sport, period. Just a phenomenal coach, and he walked away a winner. Nearly won another national championship, went down to North Carolina, their arch rivals in the Final Four, 81-77. Just stunning. And speaking of North Carolina, they knocked off St. Peter's, getting to the Final Four, had the iconic rematch with Coach K in his final game, took them down. They took on Kansas in the national championship. And then another NCAA record gets broken. Kansas down 15 to North Carolina in the national championship game. At halftime, Kansas sets an NCAA record for the largest comeback in NCAA finals history, coming back and winning that game 72-69, winning Kansas's 4th national championship, their first since 2008, in stunning fashion. And just is the reason, Jordan, why I love college basketball so much. Just the pageantry and the utmost excitement that you can get from college athletics in Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, St. Peter's. 68 teams go into the NCAA tournament with a chance to win a national championship, and just seeing it all unfold game by game as the bracket dwindles down. That's just as it unfolds. It is easily my favorite moment, my favorite month in sports. March is just, it's madness, and there's a reason they call it March Madness.
So, Jesse, just looking back on this year, there were a lot of crazy things that happened in the NFL. And would you believe it if I told you most of them involved the Pittsburgh Steelers of all teams?
Do tell.
Well, let's start with a former Pittsburgh Steeler on January 2nd. This is how we started the year. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at New York Jets. And you should know where I'm going with this one.
Yep.
Mid-game, Antonio Brown takes off his jersey, his pads, his shirt, throws the jersey into the crowd. Peace, I'm out. And walks off the field, and that's how he ends his NFL career. As of right now, I don't know. He may find another team someday, but I think he's gotten too many chances as it is. That's how we started our year, was with Antonio Brown leaping off the field after he was supposedly injured. I'm not saying he wasn't, but the way that he skipped off the field tells me there was something else going on.
Running off the field shirtless, without a care in the world, too, Jordan. It just
I guess that's one way to ride off into the sunset. Not the way you'd envision, but that's one way to do it. Speaking of, let's talk about what happened the very next day with former Pittsburgh Steeler Ben Roethlisberger. It was his last game at Heinz Field. It was a magical moment. The fans completely embracing him. He hadn't officially announced a retirement yet, but they knew it was over. Two-time Super Bowl winner. Big Ben, maybe overshadowed by other people that grew up in his era in the NFL, like Aaron Rodgers or Eli Manning, but Ben was the real deal. And he cared about his team. He cared about that city so much. 26-14 was their win over the Browns. They got to see one last win from him. The very next week, the last game of the season, the Pittsburgh Steelers ended up winning 16-13 at Baltimore to sneak into the playoffs and get that newly founded 7th seed. So not the perfect way to go out, but it's a great way to go out. And I think that was a marquee moment of 2022 as well.
I think one thing, too, that kind of overshadowed Ben Roethlisberger, obviously, like you said, the quarterbacks in this day and age, just that he had to face kind of superseded him, I guess. But his issues off the field at the beginning of his career, I think definitely rubbed people the wrong way, and they just kind of detracted from him in a likeness perspective, which to me is kind of sad, because I think to a certain extent off the field issues just kind of don't matter when it comes to on the field success, because Ben, like you said, was such a successful quarterback and meant so much to the city of Pittsburgh, and kudos to Miami of Ohio for getting this guy to the NFL. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's another part that kind of overshadows him a little bit.
It's a great nugget to throw in there. I forgot where he went to college. Miami of Ohio. That's right.
Yep. Red Hawks.
Let's stay with the Steelers, because why not? Because the best catch that I saw of the year happened with the Steelers. It was rookie wide receiver George Pickens channeling his inner OBJ with that insane catch down the sideline on September 22nd. I would rank that top 5 all time. I'm not ranking it number 1, but it's definitely the best one I saw this year.
Oof. Okay, Jordan.
All right, let's hear what you got to say. Top 5, is that too high?
Top 5 all time? That might be pushing
NFL.
for me.
NFL.
Top 5 NFL all time. I think that might be pushing it a little bit.
Not so much like the moment itself, but the actual like antics of the catch, like how it was made, the athleticism, the
mechanics of it, like how he made the catch. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could.
It's no David Tyree, that's for sure.
Yeah, not in that type of moment. But even just a few weeks ago, Justin Jefferson's catch. I know a lot of people say he was aided in that catch, but that catch helped Minnesota get to overtime to beat Buffalo. So you got catches like that. But yeah, okay.
That was a good one too.
Yeah, I'm
not gonna knock him.
I can see where you're going with that. The mechanics of it. Maybe a lot of skill, less luck. We're going to talk about later. Franco Harris, like the immaculate reception, for example. Somewhat luck, in regard, but right place, right time.
Sometimes Pickens, better be lucky than good, man.
Yeah, Pickens just. I don't even think I can stretch that far, to be honest.
Yeah. No.
But
great.
No, job I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying now.
Great job by the young wide receiver. Wouldn't be 2022 if I didn't talk about the largest comeback in NFL history. We did talk about it a little bit last week, but if you're looking at overall year moments, that's going to be an overall NFL moment coming back that crazily. The Minnesota Vikings erasing a 33-point deficit and winning it in overtime. And like you said, the last thing I want to talk about, also Steelers related, Franco Harris passed us away about a week ago now. He died a few days before the Steelers were set to have their 50th anniversary memorial of the Immaculate Reception, which was Franco Harris catching that bounce pass that bounced off of the Raiders defender into his hands and almost hit the ground, runs it in for a touchdown. Widely regarded as the greatest play in NFL history. And if it's not your number 1, I'm not going to argue that with you, but it's up there. I mean, if it's not in your top 3, you don't you don't watch football. I don't know what to tell you. It's up there, or you're a Raiders fan.
Yeah, there you go. Although I have talked to a lot of Raiders fans, Jordan, that regard the Immaculate Reception in very high regard. So, and you look at it too. Speaking of this weekend, the Steelers retired Franco Harris's number.
Yep.
So no Steeler is ever gonna bear that number again, and that number is forever in the heights of Heinz Field or Acrisure Stadium now.
We'll call it Heinz. That's fine. I know it's not.
Heinz Field forever and always. Forever and always.
And then one last thing real quick. The Steelers had late game heroics to win this one as well with that late touchdown reception. And the running back who is now playing for the Steelers, last name on the back of his jersey, also Harris. Very fitting moment for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, Jesse, there was a lot that happened in basketball this year, both on and off the court, as I'm sure you're aware. First thing I want to talk about is something that happened back in March. One of my favorite people in the world, Mr. Greg Popovich, breaks the all-time record for wins at 1,336. So congratulations to Coach Pop. 5 NBA championships, been the coach of the Spurs since the 90s. Fired the head coach so that he could become the head coach. He was the general manager at that point. And it worked out pretty well in the Spurs' favor, I would say. So congrats to him, one of the all-time greats. The greatest as far as wins, all-time wins go. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. Speaking of the Spurs as well, there was an assistant coach for the Spurs for 8 years named Becky Hammon. She became the head coach of the Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA, and in her first year, wins the WNBA title against the Connecticut Sun. Happened on September 18th, so congratulations to her as well. And this is one thing I want to say. She interviewed for a lot of NBA head coaching jobs. This isn't somebody who, when you look at it, you say, oh, we need to hire a woman to get more diversity in the sport. I mean, obviously we do, but that's not the reason that she should have a job as an NBA head coach. She led the Spurs in 2015 to a Summer League title. She was the head coach during the Summer League, so she has proven success, albeit with some of the younger people, but sometimes that's a little bit more challenging. She did step in as interim head coach during Greg Popovich's ejection, and she learned from literally the best in the game. You look at a guy like Pau Gasol, who has nothing but great words to say about her. He said she's not someone who can kind of compete with these NBA head coaches. She's somebody who can compete with these NBA head coaches. So I feel like there will be a lot of openings. I'm kind of hoping that Popovich will just hand the torch off to her in San Antonio, and that's the job that she takes, maybe a little bit selfishly. But she's fantastic, and she deserves a head coaching job in the NBA.
One of the greatest minds in basketball.
Absolutely.
She's proven it time and time again, and not just at the WNBA level, but like you were talking about in the Summer League and Summer League ball. But in her playing career, she was a coach on the floor, you know, just as a guard. That's kind of how a point guard has to operate. And that's exactly what she does, or she did during her playing career. So definitely a well-deserving person to be the first woman to be a full-time head coach in the NBA. And I think it's past time that there is one, to be honest with you.
Adam Silver was saying that a couple weeks ago, saying if we don't have a woman head coach in the NBA in 5 years, something's wrong. And again, not to just say to hire a woman, just to hire a woman, but there are so many great minds, and Becky Hammon is the biggest one who, in my mind, no doubt will have a head coaching job, whether it's with the Spurs or someone else in the NBA. Probably by sometime in 2023 would be my guess. Also in the NBA, the Joker, Nikola Jokic, wins his second consecutive MVP, which is kind of crazy considering what we're qualifying as this era of the NBA as being all about shooting, not so heavily reliant on defense and physicality, more about skill position players like Steph Curry. You think about how much of an emphasis there is on that. But these big guys, I mean, you got the Joker, you got Joel Embiid, you got Giannis, who are consistently year after year the top guys in this MVP voting. Nikola, he's gonna get you not only minutes on the floor, but he's gonna be sneaky about how he gets these triple doubles. He's always gonna be available under the rim, a guy that you can always count on to be there. He got 41 points on Christmas in his triple double. That's the highest triple double on Christmas Day in NBA history, more than LeBron James, more than Kobe Bryant, more than any of these guys who played every single year on Christmas. It feels like. As it's going right now, I mean, I know, we got guys like Jason Tatum. In the running, but man, I wouldn't be shocked if he won his third MVP in a row this year.
Oof. I mean, you know the NBA is better than I do, Jordan, but I have to agree with you. I only can see from the stats because I don't really watch the NBA, but
Sure.
I was looking at the stats. It kind of partial to back home in Milwaukee, but with the stuff that Giannis is doing. But yeah, I think you're right. Definitely a front runner for sure. And I kind of, not to take away from what you were talking about, but I think it kind of shows too that it's not just American basketball players that are performing at this absolute elite level either.
All three of those big guys, foreigners, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's an international game. It's the fastest growing game in the world, and for good reason. Also, another big thing that happened this year that we do need to talk about, the Brittany Griner saga started with her getting arrested in February in Russia. Later in the year, getting released. The handling of it, maybe not the best. And not to get too political, I hate getting political on this show, but I don't think that it was handled the right way by those in power. And I think history will prove that going forward. Definitely glad to have her home again. It was a scary time. And she is an American citizen. She is an absolute monster on the court. She's always has been.
Yeah. I've seen her play in person a few times, Jordan, and my goodness. Oh my goodness. A dominant inside player and and this is me speaking from her days at Baylor, but wow, just unstoppable inside, unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, that's translated to the WNBA every year of her career. But regardless of what we thought about the handling of it or exactly what it took to get her back home, she is home, and we are grateful for that.
For sure.
Then we have the two biggest stories in the NBA this year as well. Obviously, we have Bill Russell, who passed away on July 31st, his number 6 being retired association-wide, being grandfathered in, so players like LeBron James will still continue to wear number 6. And you might never know it if you only ever saw Bill Russell as he was in his last years, because he was always joking around. He was, flipping the bird to Charles Barkley on stage at an awards ceremony. What a character. But yeah, just the impact that he had on the country, on the world, inside the NBA, outside the NBA, the 11 rings, well deserved by Bill Russell. Then obviously the biggest story of the NBA season, the Warriors defeating the Celtics in 6 games to claim their 4th title in 8 years. So Warriors fans, formerly Lakers fans, I'm kidding, but not really. Warriors fans.
Yes.
So Warriors fans had a lot to celebrate in the 2010s. They had a few titles. They won 3 out of 4 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, fell a little bit short against Toronto. Kevin Durant leaves the Warriors. He goes to the Brooklyn Nets. The Warriors run into some trouble. They run into some injuries of Steph Curry. They run into injuries with Klay Thompson. 2 awful injuries to Klay Thompson, an ACL and an Achilles. They kept him out for such a long time. The Warriors missed the playoffs 2 consecutive years, which was unheard of just considering how much success they had previously had. Klay Thompson, though, did return on January 9th. And this Warriors team transformed into something different. This looked like the Warriors we had seen in the past. This Warriors team that was projected to not probably be back in the mix, but not to look very good. I mean, you had these superstar teams in the West. You had the Phoenix Suns, the Dallas Mavericks, the Denver Nuggets. You had the Clippers that were supposed to be a mega team. You had the Lakers that were supposed to be a mega team. Warriors were probably predicted to finish 4th out of 5th in their division. Instead, they go on this magical run. They knock off the Nuggets early. Now, granted, Grizzlies had some injury trouble with Ja, but still, you got to beat the whole team, and they knock them off early. Mavericks, after Luka Doncic has this incredible series against the Suns, knock them off. Celtics, possibly the most well-rounded team in the NBA and probably the favorite to win the NBA Finals right now, knock them off as well in 6 games against a guy who, again, could be the league MVP this year in Jason Tatum. Got quite a few other great players on that team. Jaylen Brown playing lights out right now. Warriors, magical run. I don't know if it holds up again this year because they can't get any wins on the road. They dominate at home, but they can't win for crap on the road. But that being said, you can't take this title away from the Warriors. Kudos to them.
So, Jordan, we need to talk about a sport we haven't talked about yet on the Circus Catch, and that's hockey. The NHL, something big happening just 2 weeks ago, December 13th. Alex Ovechkin becomes just the 3rd player in NHL history to reach 800 goals scored in a career.
Wow.
And
the great 8.
A Capitals legend. Did it with a hat trick against the Blackhawks. Granted, the Blackhawks are one of the worst teams in the league, but can't take anything away from the incredible success that Alex Ovechkin has had in the league. Just stunning success. It hadn't quite worked out to getting Washington a cup until just a few years ago. But now that he's got a cup, he's got 800 goals. He's only, I think now that as of recording this, he's 90 away from Wayne Gretzky. But yeah, closing the door on number 1 in all time scoring, and definitely looks like he's still got life left in him too. So the old man keeps scoring, and I think he's gonna break the great one's record for sure, Jordan.
He's very salt and pepper now. He's got years of experience under his belt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Gretzky has hit 900, so I think 90 sounds about right. He can do it. He can do
894 for Gretzky. I'm just not 100% sure what Alex is at right now.
Oh, gotcha. I had it in front of me too, and I deleted it.
Yeah,
I think it was 802, maybe. So maybe 92. But it'll change, like you said. It'll change. By the time this comes out, it'll change. He'll sign a 13-year contract with another team, and
that's another
every damn time we try to edit.
That's another thing. Look how we talked about last week about players staying with a franchise.
Yeah,
he is the pinnacle of when you think of Washington Capitals hockey. You're thinking of Alex Ovechkin immediately, and that's just it. And just I'm amazed that he's sustained this success with one team for so long.
It's so incredible. Rare. It's so rare nowadays. Rare.
Even Gretzky didn't do it. But you look at it that way. Right. So it's just incredible.
So we can't talk about 2022 without talking about the Houston Astros. I feel pretty well equipped to talk about it. I feel like you'd be pretty well equipped to talk about it. But I think there might be someone who might be a little bit better at talking about it. Maybe somebody who lives in the area, somebody who went to Game 6 of the World Series, who knows just a little bit more about the situation than you or I. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Southeast Texas, Mr. Jackson Cochran on the Circus Catch.
What's going on, guys?
Hey.
Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Good to see you, bud.
What's up? Good to see you guys. How you doing?
Oh, man. It's been a day for some of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're couldn't be happier to see your face right now, though.
Yeah, man.
Good to see you guys, too. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
so what do you want me to talk about?
So we want you to kind of give us a recap of the 2022 Astros season. You lived it. You were there. Game 6 of the World Series. I'm jealous, man. I'm so jealous. That's awesome.
Well, I'll dive into that real quick, how it worked, because I don't know how I just came across I get Astros Blast all the time, and it was just saying, hey, postseason's coming up. How about you get how about you register for a lottery? And if you get drawn, we'll get priority access. And I was like, whatever. So I just, typed it up, sent my email. And that was in the middle of the season. And the Astros were still ahead in the AL West at that time and didn't think anything of it. Once, the postseason started to roll around, I started getting emails saying, hey, you have an email to get priority access to the ALCS. And I thought, okay, cool. And then I thought, I'm good. Those tickets are probably a little too pricey for right now. And then I just blew it off. All of a sudden, then I get another email saying, hey, would you like to go to the World Series? And I thought, yeah, I'm doing this. It's a once in a lifetime kind of thing, especially with the run that the Astros have been on. I wanted to make sure that I was able to get there. And whenever I jumped into the email to log in and register, I was going to go to game 2. But once I got in, I was looking for tickets. They just went up quick. And I just went to game 6, and whatever I landed on, I just automatically said, go into my cart. And that was the most anxious I've ever been for 10 minutes in my life. Just refresh. Why is my credit card not going in? What is going on? Why can't I get through this? Why is this so not user friendly right now?
Worked out a little bit in your favor, though.
It did, and I didn't realize it because I just wanted to go to game 2 because I thought at least I'll be at one of the games.
Mm-hmm.
And it did luck out whenever game 6 rolled around. But to start with what you're asking, a lot of things that were going on throughout the season was how were the Astros going to fare after they lost Carlos Correa to free agency because they couldn't pay him and give him the years that he wanted. And I think that Jim Crane was going to be willing to pay as much as he wanted to, but it was the years that Carlos wanted more than anything. And that's kind of how the deal couldn't get, pinned because a lot of the things that were going on with that, Correa changed agents, and I know there's a lot of deep dive inside baseball stuff. And then he got with Scott Boras, and there were some rumors about with his original agency, who he was signed with, and then moving to Boras, that there's too much details that are all rumors speculated, but it just came off of, we wanted to make sure that he had just this one contract, and then once this year he can opt out and then get the bigger contract, which obviously that's what's going on with him right now until we know if he's actually going to stay with the Mets by the time we're recording.
Man, just to touch on that real quick. Last week we did a spot on shortstops, pretty centrally circulated around Carlos Correa. We record on Tuesdays, we put it out Wednesdays. Tuesday night, the Giants are like, wait a minute, we're not going to do a press conference because something's up with the physical. And that night, around midnight, he signs with the Mets, and so I'm up till 1 a.m. re-editing, and it has to go out at 8 a.m. So
I went to bed knowing that he was going to be a Giant, and then I wake up looking at notifications on my phone. All right, he has less years, still around the ballpark of what he wanted. He got paid, but with a different team.
Right.
And unfortunately, Crane was wanting to see what they had in Jeremy Pena. And while being a rookie, he wasn't a rookie of the year, but he was an ALCS MVP and he was a World Series MVP. And just the fact that he stepped in, because you weren't going to be able to replace the glove, but if you could just be 80% of what Carlos Correa was in your first year, that was a lot that the Astros put on that rookie. And the fact that his batting average doesn't look as good as Julio Rodriguez was in Seattle, but he was still able to be clutch at certain times. And he changed his swing up later in the season. If you can go back and watch videos, earlier in the year, you see his mechanics. He's raising his left leg more when he's batting. And then eventually he started not raising his leg as high so he can get his time because he was barely being able to hit a slider. Everybody, just anytime that a slider was coming at him, strike out, strike out, strike out. It was just one of his Achilles heels with that pitch, but he was able to just regroup, get back to the lab, and work on his swing.
That's the mark of growth too for many of these young guys, is kind of during the dog days of baseball is making these adjustments mid-season, and it's not fun and it's not easy. You have to change your whole mechanics, but the fact that he did that shows just what a great player he's going to be. And the fact that you guys have Jeremy Pena, I think you guys are going to be set at shortstop for a long time. Bit of a redemption story, going from the 2017 tainted World Series to a 2022 where as of right now,
you can't take away this merchandise that actually says World Series champions. You can't take it away from me. Just
hey,
saying.
I'm not trying to take it away. I'm an Oakland A's fan, man. I know what those boys were doing in '89. I know I know what they were doing. You can't take that away from us either. So
Yeah.
One thing I do want to ask you about real quick is Trey Mancini.
Yes.
Hard to hate that man. Everybody loves him. And then him coming over midseason from the Orioles. Just talk about what he meant to the Astros this year on their World Series run.
Well, what was hurting with the Astros, especially after the All-Star break, you lose Michael Brantley. And he's Uncle Mike. He's well loved within the franchise. You lose him to a shoulder injury, and then they go out and they trade for Mancini. And they know that with that short porch and left, you can actually rotate him to play left field. He can give Yuli some time off at first base, and he could also DH. And while he had a nice start whenever he first came in, he started to just sizzle a little bit, and that even led into the postseason because he's never played in a postseason game in his entire career. But just he was staying so optimistic, and anytime that anyone was coming to interview him, he was just so grateful to be there just because of what he's gone through and the fact that he's still playing baseball and being part of a franchise that the Astros fans just loved him. Especially in game 5, 8th inning, that ground ball that he just stopped coming in for Yuli, just cold at first base, making one of the best defensive plays compared to the Chas McCormick jump in center field in that same game. But just being able, those 2 clutch plays kind of really saved the Astros coming home and being able to clinch it and win it.
Still not the greatest moment of the year in baseball, by the way. The Astros winning the World Series. Still not the best moment.
I've got a few to talk about, but let's hear what you got.
Same here, man. So number one, we got to talk about Miggy. All right. 3,000 hits. And I don't know if you guys know this, but there's only 2 people not in the Hall of Fame that have 3,000 hits.
I did see that.
Pete Rose.
Yeah, in my opinion, Miggy is a first ballot Hall of Famer without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to talk about that. And then Albert Pujols.
Yes.
100 home runs, dude. Easily my favorite moment of the baseball season, the Major League Baseball season, that is. Dude, I was on edge every at bat. Like, I would actually go and out of my way to watch Cardinals games, which I never ever do because I'm not a Cardinals fan. But I just wanted to see
neither.
him. And not only
But
that,
I respect him.
Yeah, you gotta respect it. And he did it 2 in 1 game in Dodger Stadium, which is even better. So those are my 2.
Well, just him also doing the home run derby. That was one of the fun moments, is just watching him just get gassed, but he's just crushing it, making it to the second round. It's like, all right, Albert, you still have a little bit in the tank.
What a great last season too. Started out pretty slow for him, and then he just started gaining steam at the end, and magical. There's not really another word to describe it.
Yeah.
Just since we're on the subject of great baseball moments, a few that I liked from the year as well. David Ortiz became the first full-time DH to be voted into the Hall of Fame, and now that the National League is also adapting a designated hitter, there's more opportunity for more of this to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen with anybody that's a full-time DH right now. I mean, maybe if Yordan stays as a DH, that could happen. But I mean, I don't know if I'd do that if I was the
Yordan's
Astros.
still young too. I think he's 24, 25.
Giancarlo,
and he likes
maybe
playing in left field. Yeah.
Sorry, just real quick, another couple that come to mind as well. Vince Scully passing away this year on August 2nd. Legend of the game. No greater broadcasting voice in baseball history, possibly in sports history. I did get an opportunity to go to Dodger Stadium this year, and you could feel the intense love that all these Dodgers fans have for Vince Scully. And it's not even just limited to Dodgers fans. I think a lot of us just genuinely love his personality and who he was and how he would go about describing the game, something that all 3 of us who just got our sportscasting degrees can look up to and try to emulate the best that we can. The Orioles surpassing their projected win total by a lot. They were projected to win 61 games and lose 101. They ended up with a winning record of 83-79. Adley Rutschman had a lot to do with that. The number one rated prospect for the Orioles, coming up, catching for them. May 21st is when he came up. Man, the Orioles really turned things around. I don't know if they're a team that's going to compete next year, but watching their magical run was definitely something of note for me this year.
The shift is being banned next year. And then also there's going to be a pitch clock. So that's going to be something to really look into and how that's going to transition, because some of these batters that are just not getting those hits that they usually do, they're probably going to start raking, like most definitely. And then certain pitchers that take forever on the mound, that pitch clock is just going to come at them, and they're going to have to readjust and figure out certain. Because I know that Framber Valdez, he was taking some time in the postseason. He's going to need to be on that and just make sure that he doesn't get in any penalties or whatever. I don't know if they're going to issue balls or how it's going to work, but it just, those two things you need to look for coming in the next season.
Yeah, definitely going to be a spike in offense. You would imagine with these rules coming into place. One thing I should say real quick, Aaron Judge. I know I've been talking about it the last couple episodes, and people think I hate on Aaron Judge. I don't. I love Aaron Judge. I can't hate a Fresno State Bulldog. I can't. No. I love him. I love Devontae Adams. I love Paul George. I love Derek Carr. What he did was great. It was amazing. I'm saying it was a little overplayed, but 62 home runs is amazing. And no controversy with that. Kudos to him. What a great year for him, and what a great accomplishment. I don't hate it.
No.
I promise I don't hate it.
No, my only issue is the fact that they made a huge deal out of something because it's the Yankees.
Yeah.
You're interrupting college football on Saturdays for Aaron Judge at bat. Not cool, man. I'm sorry. That's just me, because I'm watching football and I don't need to see. If I wanted to watch the game, just give me a little picture in picture. Give me that at least.
There you go.
You don't need to interrupt what's going on.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a pitcher with the Angels. His name is Reed Detmers, and he was a rookie this year. He also became the third pitcher in Major League Baseball history to have a no-hitter and an immaculate inning in the same career. Not just the same season, but in a career. Third pitcher in MLB history, and he did it in his rookie season. He did it in his first 3 months in the league. Come on.
Future's bright for that young man. I do remember that now that you mention it. That happened.
Yeah, that is
crazy accomplishment. How cool. One thing we didn't touch on too much in this show, and strictly because we've touched on it so much in both of our first two episodes, but possibly the biggest moment of the year was Argentina taking home the World Cup. Messi getting the World Cup for his home country, being crowned the greatest of all time. I know we use that term very loosely, but it's appropriate for someone like him. And I don't say that lightly. So kudos to Argentina once again. This isn't a story that's going to make a lot of headlines, but something that was important to me this year that I saw was a guy named Stephen Vogt. And some of you may know him, some of you may not. Major League Baseball player from 2012 to 2022. Two-time All-Star with the Oakland A's, 2015 and 2016, World Series champion with the Braves in 2021. Stephen Vogt started his career, his first 32 at-bats, he went hitless. He lost so many at-bats in Tampa Bay that he got traded to Oakland. And then they brought him up, and it continued into a streak in Oakland. In 2013, Stephen Vogt got his first major league hit, and it was a home run down right field line. Stephen Vogt announced he was retiring this year. His last major league hit, he came back to the A's, same place, the Oakland Coliseum, last at bat, home run down the right field line. And I just thought that was an incredible story. He's not somebody who's going to be seen in any kind of record book or anything like that, but he's a hometown hero. He's from right here in Visalia in the Central Valley in California. We went to the same high school. I didn't go to high school with him. He's older than me, but it's cool to see guys like this accomplish things that just touch your heart a little bit more than the everyday ins and outs of the game. And I feel like that was quintessentially what 2022 was seeing a lot of stories like this, a lot of guys who had moments that were just significantly special to them, possibly even more significantly special to their fans.
Devin Chandler, Deshaun Perry, and Lavelle Davis Jr. Those are the names of the 3 Virginia football players that were killed by a former teammate just a month ago. Just a tragic story and something that we never wish to see out of a football locker room. It didn't happen in a locker room, obviously, but just in that respect, it's a tragic story. And elsewhere at college football, we talked about it on the show last week. Mike Leach, the air raid aficionado, the inventor, and one of the coolest characters in college football, passing away at the age of 61. And then also, as we talked about a couple of episodes ago, Grant Wall, the journalist that was covering the World Cup in Qatar, suddenly dying during a game. Just something that I feel like is important to touch on as we recap this year. Some of those people that we lost this year, and then just this past week, Ronnie Hillman, running back for the Denver Broncos, was battling cancer, and I didn't really even know about it, to be honest with you. I don't follow the Broncos too closely, but I didn't have any knowledge of it whatsoever until he actually had passed away. So it's just it's amazing, Jordan. I think how short our life can be, and we look at these guys as athletes as almost beyond human sometimes, and in the blink of an eye, it's gone. So I just want to touch on those and kind of shed a light on their situations and their and what they meant to their respective sport, and in that way.
Yeah, with Ronnie Hillman especially, I don't think a lot of us saw that coming. A lot of us weren't privy to that information. You never know. You never know if it's going to be in your early 30s, if you're going to live a super long life. Cherish it while you have it, because, like you said, it's over. It's over in a flash. A couple of other names that I wanted to throw out there that meant something to me as well in some way or another. Dan Reeves, who was a very prominent coach with the Broncos, Giants, and Falcons, reached 9 Super Bowls between being a head coach, an assistant, and a player. John Clayton, he was a senior writer at ESPN, covered the NFL for ESPN for a long time. Iconic This Is Sports Center TV spot where he's talking football, and then the camera cuts, it slips to him taking the shirt and tie off, letting down the ponytail. He's got his Slayer shirt on, metalhead. Iconic. I mean, obviously not as iconic as he was as a journalist, but that's how I'll remember him, as just a funny guy who was incredibly astute, and when he spoke, you listened. Dwayne Haskins as well, that happened this year.
Yeah.
Elite career at Ohio State, former first-round pick by Washington. You think of some of the old school guys, Len Dawson, Daryl LaMonica that we lost this year. Tony Siragusa, sideline personality, always had the sunglasses on for NFL on Fox. Another big name I want to throw in there real quick, Billy Moore. Billy Moore was an absolute icon in women's professional basketball. Coached the first women's U.S. Olympic team, first to coach 2 different schools to national titles, Cal State Fullerton and UCLA as well. Naismith Basketball Hall of Famer. So those are just some of the names that I think that are going to be incredibly missed in their arenas as well as we move forward into 2023. Well, thank you guys for joining us for this extremely long session of the Circus Catch, looking back at 2022. What a great year. But those are memories, and we're meant to look at memories, but not to hang on to them. We're supposed to look forward to the future, and 2023 can only bring us better things. So, guys, thanks for joining me. Jesse Jackson. I never put that together until right now. But from Texas, Oklahoma, and California, have a great day. Have a great new year. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
H-Town, hold it down.